Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast video for South America brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're going to begin first with a look back over the last week at satellite-derived precipitation, and I'm most keen on keeping an eye on southern Brazil, which is right in through this area here. As I get this playing, there we go, we're going to start to see that we actually had last week on the 12th, and then a little bit on the 13th, and then again on the 14th, some scattered precipitation that did come through the area. Now the question is, how far to the north into like Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná did that precipitation get, and how far to the east as well? Because in this area, I know it's hard to see from this map, but in this area, the southern part of Paraná and the eastern part is mostly forested area, where the heaviest agriculturally productive areas are a bit farther to the north. So let's just keep an eye on what's going on down here. And to do that, I want to show you some new updates here from the USDA. They're looking at the CHIRPS data set and the precipitation index data. Now, when we examine these two maps, this is over a 2-month time period. So we're trying to see the stresses in the lack of moisture leading up to this point. And over that time period, their exceptional drought category here, quite prevalent in Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná, getting over into Sao Paulo as well. And so again, this is the quarter that I'm most concerned about. And in terms of rank, you can see that many of these locations have been at their driest. Now, I like to do this every once in a while, but just to remind you of the sheer size of land area down here, I decided to just toss 4 Iowas on top of it. So this is from Mato Grosso do Sul into Paraná, down here into parts of Santa Catarina and Rio Grande do Sul, and then finally here into Sao Paulo. So this is a very large growing area, and better than at least 30% of the crop is grown here, and this is going to take a pretty large cut due to the drought conditions, a large cut in this area on total yield and production. In this area, it's going to hurt, I think, pretty bad. Farther to the north, let's just take a look at what the precipitation looks like. So we're going to play this out over the next 10 days from the European model, and I want you to not only watch here, but again, to the north, where we have a lot of that crop in Mato Grosso, Bahia, Tocantins, over to Minas Gerais, so this area. And as we play this forward, you're going to notice that that region, now through Wednesday, getting into Thursday, and even into Friday, is going to stay dry. So we're not expecting precipitation other than some scattered showers at best here in Brazil's northern and central growing areas for the safrinha crop. But by the end of the week and weekend, we're going to see better chances of storms moving through, better chances of rain moving through, parts of southern Brazil, but coming out of Argentina. And you can see it. There's a low, high, and a low. And on the northern side of this is where the boundary is going to kick through. And so as we get into Friday into Saturday, that's when the next chance at precipitation comes through. So we're going to have to watch this all week to see if this holds together to return rain to that area. But if it's capable of doing that, we're going to get out here and just look that by the time we get into next Saturday morning and afternoon and evening, we have an increased chances of some scattered showers and storms. Now, just for the heck of it, I'm just going to let this go all the way out to the end of the 10-day forecast. And if the model, beyond day 8 to day 10 is correct, it's forecasting that frontal boundary could just dump a lot of rainfall in through here. I want to look at it just to know what we're going to be comparing against in the forecast throughout this week. But just notice that while it is trying to return some heavy rains to parts of Mato Grosso do Sul, Paraná, which of course is here, and then Paraguay, which is there, this is all coming at the very end of the time period. Do you see that? This is next Monday to next Wednesday. That's when all that's coming through. There could be a lot that changes between now and then. But Minas Gerais, Bahia, Mato Grosso, it appears that the model's keeping that area very dry. And I'm trying to watch this and understand the pattern as it's evolving. So we can take a look at this in a couple different ways. If we look out, first of all, into week 2, we see that the model does have that relatively robust signal for heavier rains showing up in southern Brazil with less farther to the north. And maybe one of the reasons for that is the fact that the AAO has been rising throughout the beginning of May, and it is since coming back down like this. Now, why we're going to look at this is because the Antarctic oscillation is critical because of this relationship. There's a negative correlation in precipitation rates. So if you see these bluer colors, this would mean that if the Antarctic oscillation were high, which as you see here, it was over the last month, then that would help to keep this area dry, which it did. It teamed up with the MJO to do that. But if this is now beginning to crash and head back to normal, that set of forcing mechanisms is going to go with it. So what else is out there? Well, we also see this. When looking at the position of the MJO, we notice that here over the next week or so, it's going to be in phases 5, 6, 7, moving toward 8 in phase 1. So what that does is in the near term suppresses atmospheric motion, rising motion over Brazil, but possibly returns it. Do you see this? Getting into week 2. So what we see is the Antarctic Oscillation plus the MJO both kind of working together to give us this idea that there are better chances at rainfall in this area moving to the end of the, well, what was that, day 8 through 10, and then into early next week. So I just wanted to bring that point up here. If we look out here longer term, let's go back from the MJO and now get a kind of an extended forecast. Those shifts, as we go from May 20 to June 20, you now start to see more of the green shading showing up, which is where the model is trying to bring in better precipitation. But I want to remind you of something. To be slightly wetter than normal during what is now the dry season, this isn't significant moisture return in Brazil's central growing areas. And a lot of what I think we're seeing here is what I often call model hysteresis. In other words, it's just carrying the wetter conditions we're seeing into week 2 on forward. I have very low confidence in this. And what I would like to finish with is showing you that June, July, August forecast from the IRI multi-model group. So this was just released, and this is showing that there could be concerns here going into the dry season that Brazil's growing areas, it appears to be normal with a slight dry bias. So the wetter conditions are in the Amazon, and then southern Brazil is forecast to remain dry, and Argentina. Now this is something we're going to have to watch very carefully because the longer range models for June, July, August are calling for much drier conditions. So we have a lot to be watching here for South America as they move out of their 2 growing seasons toward kind of a lull in activity before things start cranking again, September timeframe. So we'll watch this very carefully and how it evolves. All right. I appreciate your attention. We'll talk to you again about it on Thursday. Thanks.